The moment a beloved show announces a spinoff, there's this immediate, visceral reaction, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah.
A mixture of pure excitement and, well, a hefty dose of apprehension. You want to revisit that world, those characters, maybe,
hmm
but you also brace yourself because the bar set by an original that's, embedded itself in pop culture is just incredibly high.
It really is.
New series carrying that famous name face a unique, almost impossible challenge. How do you honor the legacy while also sort of carving out your own fresh identity?
It's a tightrope walk for sure.
That tension is exactly what we're diving into today. Our focus is How I Met Your Father, the TV series that, well, it captivated and sometimes divided audiences during its run from 2022 to 2023.
Right.
Our mission here is to really unpack its journey, looking at everything from its original premise and the story it tried to tell to its fascinatingly polarized reception.
Yeah, that contrast is key.
We'll explore the striking difference between how audiences felt and the critical acclaim it received, drawing directly from the detailed IMDb info you've given us.
Okay.
We're talking basic facts, the official synopsis, its cast, the incredibly passionate, sometimes angry user reviews, and even its, well, surprising award wins.
It's a truly compelling case study because when a new show enters the arena with such a direct link to a cultural touchstone, it doesn't just get watched, it gets scrutinized.
Exactly. That's the perfect word.
The expectations aren't just for a good show, but for a show that lives up to a specific, almost mythical memory.
Totally. So let's start at the beginning and sort of establish the core identity of How I Met Your Father. What do we know about it right out of the gate?
Well, the fundamental facts paint a pretty clear picture. This was a TV series that aired for a couple of years, 2022 to 2023.
Okay.
It held a TV-14 rating, which is pretty standard for a modern sitcom, and each episode clocked in at that familiar 30-minute mark.
Right, half-hour comedy.
Exactly. Its premiere in the United States was January 18th, 2022. Production-wise, it was primarily filmed in LA, part of the industry.
Makes sense.
Brought to us by a collaboration of 20th Television, Bays Thomas Productions, and Hulu Originals.
Okay, big players.
And quite impressively, it had a global footprint from day one. Offered support in multiple languages, fully in English for the U.S., but also partially in French for Canada and France, German, Hindi for India, Italian, Portuguese for Brazil, and Spanish for Spain and Mexico.
Wow, okay. That's a significant effort right there. Shows ambition.
Definitely aiming for a broad international audience from the start.
So it clearly had big ambitions, resources behind it, but what was the actual story it was trying to tell? The synopsis feels really central. It's mentioned like 3 times in the source material.
Yeah, and what's consistent and really foundational across all those mentions is the show's core storyline. It revolves around Sophie and her close-knit group of friends figuring out who they are, what they want out of life, and how to fall in love in the age of dating apps and limitless options.
Okay, that last part feels key. Age of dating apps and limitless options.
Exactly. This wasn't just a casual update. It was a very deliberate attempt to ground the beloved How I Met narrative firmly in the modern zeitgeist.
Right.
The original How I Met Your Mother that navigated the early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
But this spin-off aimed to capture the unique complexities of dating and self-discovery in the 2020s.
A world vastly changed by tech, by choices.
Completely. Just an overwhelming number of choices compared to before.
That's a huge shift right there. You're talking about a completely different dating landscape. And who are the new faces tasked with bringing this contemporary story to life?
Okay, so the series was the brainchild of creators Isaac Aptaker and Elizabeth Berger. For the main ensemble, we had Hilary Duff leading as Sophie.
Okay, big name there.
Definitely. Christopher Lowell as Jesse, Francia Raisa playing Valentina, Suraj Sharma as Sid, Tom Ainsley as Charlie, and Kian Tran portraying Ellen.
A whole new group.
A whole new group. But there's a really interesting, and I'd say crucial, narrative bridge to the original series. Kim Cattrall played future Sophie.
Ah, okay. So the narrator role.
Exactly. She stepped into that role, kind of akin to Bob Saget's voiceover in the original, providing that future tense narration. It gave a direct stylistic nod to its predecessor.
Gotcha. And how long did it run?
Over its run, the series produced a total of 30 episodes.
30 episodes. Okay. It's interesting to think about the pressure of this particular legacy. Was this even the first attempt to bring a How I Met Your Mother spinoff to life? Because it feels like such a tough act to follow.
It absolutely was a tough act,
Well,
and that's precisely why this detail from our sources is
yeah.
so important. This wasn't just an attempt.
Right.
It was actually the second attempt at a How I Met Your Mother spinoff.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. The first, a pilot titled How I Met Your Dad, was actually developed back in 2014.
2014. Okay.
But ultimately, it wasn't picked up for a series.
Mm.
This historical context immediately sets the stage, you know? It tells you that the idea of expanding this universe had been floating around for a while.
Right.
And even with the best intentions, cracking the code to replicate its magic was proving to be incredibly difficult.
Wow.
It really hints at the inherent challenges and the immense, almost palpable expectations surrounding anything that carries that iconic name.
That history certainly adds a layer to it all. So, with that kind of pressure and a very specific premise, how did How I Met Your Father actually land with its audience?
Mm.
The IMDb rating stands at a 5.7 out of 10, based on reviews from a significant 28,000 users. That number alone tells a pretty compelling story, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and it immediately raises that critical question. How much did that direct lineage, that famous name, influence those 28,000 users?
Right. Were they judging the show or the ghost of the old one?
Exactly. It seems many viewers really struggled to separate the new from the old. For instance, user African Bro put it very candidly, saying, the moment you compare it to the original or listen to big fans of How I Met Your Mother, you'll instantly dislike or be disappointed by this.
Wow, blunt.
Very. They even offered advice. If you manage to consider this as a separate show, you might just be able to enjoy it.
Mm.
This just speaks volumes about the original's immense weight and how it inadvertently set an almost unattainable benchmark for the spin-off.
Yeah, it's hard to judge a show on its own merits when you're constantly holding it up against a beloved memory.
Totally.
That's a crucial point because for many fans, the original wasn't just a show, it was like an experience, part of their lives.
Definitely.
So when people did make those comparisons, what specifically were they finding missing or, falling short in the new series?
Well, user 5IQ42
Yeah.
articulated this sentiment very clearly, and I think it probably resonates with a lot of the critiques we saw.
Mhm.
They zeroed in on the absence of what made the original so special, stating, the show just does not have the charm of its predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
There is no Barney, there is no Marshall Lily, there is no Robin, and there is no Ted. Listing the whole original gang.
Pretty much. They went on to describe the new characters as rather bland and boring,
Ow.
and found the narrator, Kim Cattrall's future Sophie, annoying, in stark contrast to the originals.
Interesting contrast there, too.
Yeah, this really highlights how deeply invested fans were in the original ensemble's chemistry and distinct personalities.
Mm.
For a character-driven sitcom, if the new characters don't immediately click or feel unique, it's just such an uphill battle for audience engagement.
Yeah, you need that hook.
It's almost like trying to recreate a beloved band with all new musicians, even if they're talented. They just don't have that shared history or spark.
That's a great analogy. And it wasn't just the characters.
Yeah.
Humor, which was arguably the cornerstone of its predecessor.
Foundational, yeah. That also seems to have been a major sticking point for many viewers. A sitcom without reliable laughs is, well, it's a tough sell.
Absolutely. The comedic delivery, or what many perceived as its absence, was a recurring and significant complaint. User 5Tunok found the entire endeavor to be forced.
Forced? How so?
Stating quite directly, jokes are too flat, and it's like they're forcing the audience to like the characters.
Trying too hard, maybe.
Yeah, and they even specifically called out what they considered to be fake and overplayed millennial humor.
Ah, the millennial humor critique.
Yep. Another user, 5Nanachin, delivered perhaps the most scathing assessment, bluntly describing it as a comedy with no comedian. They're laughing, but the audience aren't.
Wow, that cuts deep for a comedy.
It really does. It points to a fundamental disconnect in comedic style and execution for a large segment of the audience. The humor just didn't land.
Which, for a sitcom, is pretty critical.
It's a critical failure, yeah. It suggests maybe a misunderstanding of what made the original's humor so widely appealing, or perhaps an overestimation of the new show's ability to forge its own comedic identity.
It sounds like a lot of the feedback boiled down to the characters not quite hitting the mark. Beyond the humor and direct comparisons to the original cast, what other common threads emerged in the critiques regarding the new ensemble? What specifically felt off about them to people?
Well, a significant point of concern was a perceived lack of distinctiveness among the new friend group.
Like they all blended together?
Kinda, yeah. User Figo and Fongle mentioned being unable to tell the differences between them. personality, John.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. Describing the characters as, quote, just a bunch of people who are liking, hating, marrying each other, like Disney's Girl series.
Ouch. That's pretty damning for a sitcom, especially one that relies on character-driven stuff.
It really is. If the audience struggles to differentiate between the main characters, their individual journeys get muddled, their relationships lack depth.
And the group dynamic just doesn't pull you in.
Exactly. It suggests that while the setup was modern, maybe the execution of character development fell into kind of generic tropes, which hindered true emotional investment.
Yeah. That lack of clear, compelling individual personalities, those distinct quirks and arcs, that's often what separates a show you just watch from one you actually care about.
Precisely. It's crucial for building a loyal following.
So if we were just looking at those user reviews and that 5.7 IMDb rating, we'd paint a pretty bleak picture, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. It sounds like a struggle.
Concluding that How I Met Your Father really struggled to connect with its audience on a fundamental level. But here's where this story takes a truly surprising turn, one that completely shifts the conversation.
Okay.
Despite this audience sentiment, the show won 4 Primetime Emmys.
4!
4 Primetime Emmys, and accumulated 8 wins and 10 nominations total.
Wow. Okay, that is a twist.
Yeah.
How do we make sense of that kind of contrast? It's almost bewildering. It is genuinely perplexing, and it forces us to ask a crucial question about how we define success in television, doesn't it?
Totally.
How can a show with a relatively low 5.7 IMDb rating from its audience, signaling widespread dissatisfaction, achieve such significant industry recognition and collect prestigious awards?
It's a huge disconnect.
This incredible split makes you wonder, are critics and award bodies looking for something fundamentally different than the average viewer?
Maybe focusing on different aspects?
Perhaps. Maybe they're celebrating the craft and innovative camera technique, a particularly sharp dialogue exchange in one episode, maybe a groundbreaking performance.
Or technical stuff.
Yeah, or perhaps even excellence in areas like production design, costume design, sound-making things that often go unnoticed by the casual viewer, but are highly valued within the industry.
That makes sense.
It points to a real divergence in what success truly means in Hollywood. The broader audience might have been looking for that nostalgia, that replication of the original's charm and humor.
While the industry saw something else.
Exactly. While the industry perhaps recognized excellence in other more technical or artistic areas that didn't necessarily translate into broad, laugh-out-loud appeal or deep character connection for the masses.
That's a fascinating distinction to consider. So it's certainly not all negative then. Were there any glimmers of positivity, any specific moments or aspects that did resonate with viewers, even amidst all those comparisons and critiques, beyond just the technical awards?
Yes, there were indeed glimmers. Even user 5IQ42, who was largely critical of the new series.
Right, the one who missed the old game.
That's the one. Even they noted a bright spot, the appearance of Robin in a later episode.
Ah, a cameo.
Yep. Described as nostalgic and actually quite amusing, leading them to conclude, rather ironically, that the best part of him remains him.
Ah, okay. So the nostalgia hit worked.
It indicates that strategic, well-placed nods to the original could work and were genuinely appreciated, even if the new elements didn't always land with the same impact.
It showed there was a pathway, maybe?
Exactly, even if it was fleeting. Furthermore, the series was featured in MS Mojo, Top 10 Modern Sitcoms You Should Be Watching in 2023.
Oh, interesting. MS Mojo.
Yeah, this is significant external recognition. It indicates it did resonate positively with some critics and specific segments of viewers.
The ones maybe not comparing it constantly.
Perhaps those maybe looking for new content on its own merits rather than a direct carbon copy, and who found value in its attempt to update the genre.
That MS Mojo inclusion is particularly interesting because it suggests there was indeed an audience, or at least the critical perspective, that saw something worthwhile, even if it wasn't the exact same thing as its predecessor.
Right, it wasn't a total miss across the board.
Ultimately, what does this whole journey tell us about the life cycle of a beloved franchise? What's the bigger picture here?
Well, stepping back, this entire journey truly highlights the immense pressure and the inherent, almost Sisyphean difficulty of attempting to create a successful spin-off from a truly iconic series.
Sisyphean, yeah, pushing that rock uphill.
Exactly. You're trying to build something genuinely new, establish fresh characters, and a unique narrative that stands on its own,
While everyone's comparing it.
while simultaneously inviting direct and often unforgiving comparisons to a cherished classic. How I Met Your Father bravely attempted to tackle very relevant, contemporary themes.
The dating apps, the options.
Right, particularly the complexities of navigating relationships in the age of dating apps and limitless options, which is incredibly fertile ground for new storytelling.
For sure.
But it seems the colossal shadow of the original success, that ingrained expectation of replicating a certain magic and comedic rhythm, proved to be its greatest hurdle with the general audience.
Even with the awards.
Even as it clearly garnered significant industry accolades for its various merits. It's a testament to how deeply ingrained the original became and how hard it is to move on, maybe even for the creators themselves.
We've taken a truly deep dive into How I Met Your Father, seeing how it bravely attempted to forge its own path in the ever-evolving modern dating scene with a new group of friends. Yet it grappled with the immense, almost overwhelming expectations set by its iconic predecessor, leading to a remarkably polarizing reception from audiences.
Yeah, that split is the story.
This is especially striking when we consider its significant industry recognition, including those 4 Primetime Emmy wins.
It's a complex tapestry, isn't it? A show can be both lauded by its peers and found wanting by its audience all at once.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for you as a viewer, as a consumer of stories?
Yeah. What's the takeaway?
When a show like How I Met Your Father wins multiple awards yet receives such mixed, even outright critical public reviews, what does it truly teach us about the different ways we value television?
Good question.
Does critical acclaim signify a different kind of success than audience satisfaction? Or can both truly coexist when a new series inherits such a powerful, beloved legacy?
It's tough.
Perhaps the ultimate success of a spin-off isn't just about ratings or awards, but about sparking these kinds of conversations and making us reflect on what we truly seek when we tune in. Something to ponder the next time a new show tries to live up to a legend.